Last but certainly not least, he is coming with the clouds. This is, of course, a reference to Jesus coming back. He is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even they who pierced him. The coming of Christ will not be a private event or a secret rapture or something obscure as with the first coming of Christ, but rather it will be something that is a spectacle that no one will be able to miss. Every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, even those who rejected him, who defamed and ridiculed him. When Christ returns, we will all be aware of it and witness it for ourselves. But what is the significance behind the returning of Christ? Well, to answer that question, we have to first understand why he came in the first place. So, going all the way back to Genesis with Adam and Eve, we are told that they were created in the image of God, according to his likeness. In other words, they were perfect, sinless beings. But when Adam and Eve disobeyed God, sin entered into human nature, and that sin separated us from God. It tarnished our identity of being image bearers of God. It brought in all types of pain and suffering and evil and calamity into the world that God did not originally intend to happen. The penalty for breaking God's law was death. Death, in the case of being this eternal separation from God. And God, being a just God, he had to pronounce judgment. But God, being a God of love, also wanted to offer the grace and to give us life. So although we may die in this first life, that death is really just to set us free from living a life marred by sin. But the second death, that is the one that is eternal separation from God. That is the one that God, through Jesus, is setting us free from. As it says in Revelation 20, verse 6, "Blessed and holy is the one who has a part in the first resurrection. Over such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years." Now there's a lot to break down in this verse, but I just want to focus in on the fact that the ones who are in the first resurrection, which occurs at the second coming of Christ, are those who will be escaping the second death. The first death is temporary, but the second death is the one that is eternal. So Jesus, the perfect image of God, laid down his life for us who tarnished the image of God through sin, so that our marred image of God may be restored back to its original image. In other words, if sin separates us from God and destroys God's image within us, when Jesus set us free from sin, we are reconciled or reunited back to God and restores us to our original image. This is what the second coming of Christ exemplifies. The final end of sin, the restoration of humanity to the original image of God that was created in, and being reunited with him to live a life free from sin, pain, suffering, evil, chaos, drama, trauma, catastrophe, hurt, malice, betrayal. This can go on and on and on. The second coming of Christ is central to Revelation because it is the very thing that Jesus Christ came to earth to do. He came to live a perfect life, yes. He came to lay down his life as a substitutionary sacrifice on our behalf, yes. He resurrected and is at the right hand of God, yes. But all of that means nothing if we are never reunited back with God. And that is what the second coming of Christ is about. Finally, after all these years, being reunited back to God and restored to our original image and likeness, to live the way that God always intended, without sin. That is the end goal. That, the revelation of Jesus Christ boils down to this. God loved us and sent Jesus to pay the price to redeem us so that we may be reconciled back to God, cleansed from our sin, and reunited with Him. And so, as you read the book of Revelation and reflect upon the apocalypse, I hope and pray that you think on these things.